Germany finds itself at a critical juncture in its history. On February 23, 2025, the nation will hold a snap election. This follows the collapse of Chancellor Olaf Scholz's coalition government. The coalition struggled with economic fallout from the pandemic, the energy crisis and migration policy. The election carries significant weight for Germany and Europe. As the EU's largest economy, Germany's direction impacts the entire Union. The stakes are high and the outcome remains uncertain. German voters are heading to the polls with a multitude of concerns on their minds. The country is grappling with economic stagnation, a problem that has plagued it for several years. Growth has been sluggish, and many Germans feel left behind by globalization and technological change. This economic anxiety is compounded by rising energy costs, partly fueled by the war in Ukraine. Adding to the strain is Germany's aging infrastructure. Years of underinvestment have left roads, bridges and public transportation systems in dire need of repair. This poses a significant challenge to economic competitiveness and quality of life. The issue of migration also looms large in the election. Germany has seen a significant influx of migrants and refugees in recent years, particularly from the Middle East and Africa. While many Germans support welcoming those fleeing war and persecution, others worry about the social and economic impact of large-scale immigration. This issue has been particularly divisive, fueling social tensions and political polarization. These challenges have created a sense of unease and uncertainty among many German voters. They are looking for leadership and solutions, but they are also wary of radical change. The outcome of the election will depend on which party or coalition can best address these concerns and offer a convincing vision for the future. The 2025 German election features a crowded field of political parties, each vying for the support of a divided electorate. The centre-right Christian Democratic Union, led by Friedrich Merz, currently enjoys a lead in the polls. The CDU campaigns on a platform of economic liberalism, promising tax cuts and deregulation to stimulate growth. On the far right, the Alternative for Germany, led by Alice Weidel, has gained traction by tapping into anxieties about immigration and cultural change. The AfD advocates for stricter border controls, limits on asylum seekers and a more assertive foreign policy. The centre-left Social Democratic Party, led by incumbent Chancellor Olaf Scholz, finds itself trailing in the polls. The SPD emphasizes social justice, environmental protection and a strong social safety net. However, the party has struggled to connect with voters who feel left behind by globalization and technological change. The Greens, led by Robert Habeck, have emerged as a significant force in German politics. They prioritize tackling climate change, investing in renewable energy and promoting social justice. The Greens appeal to younger voters and urban professionals concerned about the environment and social inequality. The issue of migration has become a defining one in German politics, and its impact extends far beyond the country's borders. Germany's stance on migration has implications for the European Union's asylum policies, its internal solidarity and its relationship with the rest of the world. The CDU and AfD have taken a hard line on migration, calling for stricter border controls and limits on asylum seekers. They argue that Germany cannot accommodate unlimited numbers of migrants and that its cultural identity is at risk. The SPD and Greens, while acknowledging the challenges posed by migration, advocate for a more compassionate approach. They emphasize the need to uphold Germany's humanitarian obligations and to integrate migrants into society. The outcome of the election will likely determine Germany's direction on migration for years to come. A CDU-led government, especially one with AfD influence, could lead to a more restrictive approach, potentially straining relations with other EU member states. Conversely, an SPD-Green coalition would likely result in a more open and welcoming stance, though perhaps with stricter enforcement of integration measures. Section 5. Economic uncertainty, navigating stagnation and fiscal challenges. Germany's economic future is another key issue dominating the 2025 election. The country, once an economic powerhouse, faces the spectre of stagnation. Slow growth, an aging workforce, and global economic headwinds pose significant challenges. The CDU, championing economic liberalism, proposes tax cuts and deregulation to stimulate growth. They argue that these measures will unleash entrepreneurial spirit and attract investment. The SPD, on the other hand, favors a more interventionist approach. They advocate for increased public investment in infrastructure, education, and research and development. The SPD argues that these measures will create jobs, boost productivity, and ensure a more equitable distribution of wealth. The Greens prioritize sustainable growth, focusing on investments in renewable energy, energy efficiency, and green technologies. They believe these measures will create jobs, reduce carbon emissions, and enhance Germany's competitiveness in the global economy. The AfD's economic policies are more inward-looking, emphasizing protectionist measures and a focus on national interests. They call for a reduction in foreign aid and a more assertive stance in trade negotiations. The choices made by the next German government will have significant implications for the European Union's economic governance. Germany's position on fiscal policy, debt mutualization, and structural reforms will heavily influence the bloc's direction in the years to come. Section 6. The security question. Germany's role in a changing world. The 2025 election occurs amid geopolitical uncertainty. The Ukraine war forces Germany to rethink its global role. The CDU calls for increased defense spending and NATO commitment. They argue for defending Germany's interests and values. The SPD emphasizes diplomacy and multilateralism. They advocate for peace and international cooperation. The Greens support aid to Ukraine and diplomatic efforts. They call for humanitarian and military aid to Ukraine. The AfD's foreign policy stance is ambiguous. Some advocate closer ties with Russia. Others prioritize nationalism. The election will impact Europe's security architecture. Germany's NATO commitment and approach to Russia will shape Europe's security. Section 7. The art of the deal, coalition building and its potential pitfalls. Given the fragmented political landscape, the 2025 German election is unlikely to produce a clear winner. This means that coalition building will be paramount in forming the next government. The CDU, if it emerges as the largest party, will likely seek to form a coalition with the Free Democratic Party, a pro-business libertarian party. However, the FDP's stance on fiscal conservatism and social liberalism could create friction within a CDU-led coalition. The SPD, if it hopes to remain in power, will need to forge a broad coalition with the Greens and possibly the Left Party, a socialist party. However, bridging the ideological divide between these parties, particularly on economic and foreign policy, will be a formidable challenge. The possibility of a CDU-AfD coalition, while remote, cannot be entirely ruled out. Such an alliance would be highly controversial and would send shockwaves across Europe. It would likely lead to a more nationalistic and Eurosceptic German government, potentially undermining EU unity and solidarity. The complexities of coalition building in Germany highlight the challenges facing democracies across Europe. As traditional party systems fragment and voters become more polarized, forming stable and effective governments becomes increasingly difficult. Section 8. A new era for Europe, the enduring impact of Germany's choice. The 2025 German election is not merely a domestic affair. Its outcome will reverberate across Europe, shaping the continent's political and economic trajectory for years to come. A CDU-led government, particularly one with AfD influence, could lead to a more fractured and inward-looking Europe. Such a government might prioritize national interests over European integration, potentially undermining EU solidarity and effectiveness. An SPD-Green coalition, on the other hand, would likely result in a more outward-looking and progressive Europe. Such a government would likely champion multilateralism, climate action and social justice, potentially strengthening the EU's global standing and promoting a more integrated and sustainable European economy. Regardless of the outcome, the 2025 German election marks a turning point for Europe. It will test the resilience of the European project and determine the continent's direction in an increasingly uncertain world. Section 9. Conclusion. A pivotal moment for Germany and the European project. The German snap election of 2025 stands as a pivotal moment, not only for Germany but for the future of Europe. A confluence of economic anxieties, social tensions and geopolitical uncertainties has created a volatile political landscape. The choices made by German voters will have profound and lasting consequences. As the campaign unfolds, all eyes will be on Germany. The world watches with bated breath, eager to see what path this influential nation will choose and what it will mean for the future of Europe and the world. The stakes are high and the outcome remains uncertain.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.